All right, Unit 4, Active Citizenship. We all know what it means to be active, right? It means you're doing stuff, right? You're not being inactive, right? You're not being passive. Active. What does it mean to be an active citizen? Well, that's what this unit is all about. We're going to take a look at different examples and different ways in which you can be an active citizen. So, let's do a little role play to start things out. What would you do in this scenario? Scenario 1. You have witnessed a crime, a bad crime. Well, all crime is bad, but this one's bad. All right, you know the people who committed this crime, but you do not know the victim. All right, do you report what you saw to the police? Right? Or do you stand by and do you do nothing at all? All right, so think about that. All right, in class, I would get you to discuss your action with someone near you, but just think about it. Okay, next, what would you do in this scenario? A group of volunteers have noticed a serious problem in your community. This problem needs to be addressed by someone. So, do you lead this group to fix the problem? Right? Do you get involved and get take on a leadership role, or do you even just join this group to fix the problem, or do you avoid this issue altogether and just close the blinds and don't let yourself get involved whatsoever? So again, think about what you would do in that situation. All right, well, there are two kinds of people in this world. Right, there are bystanders. If you look at the left of your screen here, you're going to see somebody is doing something wrong, right? There's a bully, and you can see all the kids who are gathered around, and they're not doing anything to stop the bully. They're just watching. They're bystanders. Or if you look on the right, you see the person who's highlighted in red. That person is an upstander. They're standing up. They're standing forward, and they are willing to take action. They're willing to be an active citizen to make their community better. So here's an important question to ponder. What is more important in a society? Is it the responsibilities we have as citizens, or is it our rights as individuals? So far in this class, we've spent a lot more time speaking about our rights and our freedoms, right? However, we also have responsibilities as citizens of a country, or even as permanent residents as a country of a country. We have responsibilities too. All right. So on the left side of your screen here, you can see former president of the United States, John F. Kennedy, and he had a famous quote that he gave in January 20th, 1961. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." He's talking about your responsibility as a citizen. Okay, and then on the right side here, you can see people protesting in front of Parliament, demanding their rights, right? Demanding their freedoms, right? And so, which one is more important in a society? All right. So the role of individuals in democratic society. What is our role? Another word for role would be responsibilities, right? So the stuff on the left side here. We've already spent lots of time talking about rights and freedoms. Now let's talk about our responsibilities. If you live in a democratic society like Canada, what responsibilities do you have? What are your duties? What do you need to do to be a good citizen, right? So if we were having a class discussion, I would maybe make a little list on the board and we would discuss all of these responsibilities together. But we're not doing that. So instead, I'll just give you a list. All right. I'm sure somebody in the class would have said, obeying the laws of your community, right? That's your job, not doing things that are illegal, right? So look at this fun shirt. Okay. This guy here, he's part of COP, Citizens on Patrol. And he thinks it's his responsibility, and so is the responsibility of everybody else in these photos, to patrol the streets and make sure that people are obeying the laws. These are civilian groups. These are not police officers. They are just groups of concerned neighbors who want to just patrol the streets, keep an eye on things, make sure that there's peace and there's order in the streets. Okay, another one would be political participation. If you live in a democratic society and you believe that Montesquieu was correct, then you would believe that it's your job as a citizen of a country to participate in the political process and make sure that your voice is heard. Okay, so here are some options. Here's some things that we would have discussed as a class if we were having a class discussion on this topic. Here are some possible things a person can do if they want to be involved in the political process, right? So you can see up in the top left, one thing you can do is you can join a political party, right? And that's one way of having your voice heard. You can also vote, right? You can send an email to your member of parliament or your member of the legislative assembly or your member of, or city councilor, I should say. You can send a letter to the editor, or you can get active on social media and share your opinion on social media. You can sign a petition. You can go and protest, right? You can go to a town hall and you can go see your MP or MLA or city councilor, and you can ask them a question. You can join a political action group, like a lobby group, a special interest group, like the World Wildlife Federation, which sometimes gets mistaken for the World Wrestling Federation. All right, so here's a list for you. You can join a political party. You can vote. You can write a letter to the newspaper. You can email an elected official. You can sign a petition, join a special interest group, attend a town hall or two, or you can protest. Those are things you can do, right? And some would even say doing some of these things is your responsibility, right? That's what the great Montesquieu would say. This is your job. If you're not doing this, well, then your country could slip into authoritarianism, because the government must always be accountable to the people. Okay? Now, what about your responsibility as an individual or as a citizen when you live in a society that has injustice? All right, so on the left of this page, it's a little preview of your first case study, which is going to be in a future video. And that is a society in which there was racial segregation that was enforced through the legal system, right? So that would be injustice, right? And what responsibilities do individuals have? What responsibilities do citizens have when they live in a society with that level of injustice? But even in a society like ours, there is also injustice, right? We have wealth inequality in a society like ours. We have people who are disadvantaged and who are marginalized. And what is our responsibility, right? And what about when there is corruption in society, right? Corruption in government. And what about when people are treated unjustly and given poor working conditions? What kind of role do individuals have when they're facing injustice like that? Well, one option is humanitarianism, right? So here are some humanitarian organizations. We would probably spend a little more time talking about these in person. Like Chalice is a Catholic charity. It's similar to World Vision in that you can, what can you do? You can sponsor a child, and you can send that child money once a month so that that child in a developing country is capable of going to school and having their basic needs met so they can have a better future, right? There's organizations like Samaritan's Purse, and they give relief to people who are experiencing natural disasters and things like that. Food for the Hungry, okay, that one's pretty straightforward. The United Way helps disadvantaged people in places like Calgary. We have Free the Children, which works towards making sure children have education around the world. Salvation Army provides people in places like Calgary with some of their basic needs. Oxfam, right? So these are humanitarian organizations. When there is injustice, when there's inequality, these humanitarian organizations can help rectify that. They try to help humans. Okay, protest is another one, right? Look at these people, right? There's something they're not happy with. So what do? They go and they protest, right? Protests can be effective because they get in the news, they get people talking, they put pressure on elected officials, they can put pressure on corporations as well if that's who they're protesting against, and they can get results. They often do, right? Here's a quote: "A democracy is alive only if its members are willing to question. Citizens must ask what is working and what is failing within their society." Okay, yeah, protest. It brings public and political awareness to the concerns of a group of citizens, and it can also influence the actions of others. Right, and here's a boycott. Right, a boycott is when people decide they're not going to support a certain company or business because they have decided, or they've determined that that company has done something that is wrong. Right, so here people protesting Wendy's. I actually don't even remember what Wendy's did, but I remember I looked it up once, but I forget. And Wendy's was seen as a big no-no, right? So people were upset about Wendy's, and they said, "Hey, let's boycott Wendy's." And then Wendy's, they ended up reversing whatever it was they did. Okay, and then our last one for this video comes from this quote: "One has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws." Right. So that's from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Right. So civil disobedience, when there is injustice in society, right? If there are any rules in society that are unjust, well, if you believe, or if you agree with Martin Luther King, it is your responsibility to disobey those laws because those laws are wrong. So as soon as you're finished with this video, the next video in the playlist has a very brief clip from Martin Luther King explaining his views on civil disobedience. And as soon as you're done that clip, there is another clip which traces this thought, right? This concept of civil disobedience back to its roots. So Martin Luther King, he practiced civil disobedience, and we're going to learn about his approach to civil disobedience in our first case study. However, he was inspired by the actions and the ideas of other people who came before him from other parts of the world. And so you're going to watch a second video all about civil disobedience, which is also in the playlist. Click on that once you're done this video here, and you will learn about some of the roots of this concept. Okay, so that's it for this video. Stay tuned for more.